Hey everybody, Jane here. I read The Undomestic Goddess by Sophie Kinsella, and I want to talk about it.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
So, this book was on my 5-star predictions, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. It was good, but not quite everything I hoped for. I have read other Sophie Kinsella's before and really enjoyed them. This one reminded me quite a bit of the My Not So Perfect Life, kind of a very similar premise. So, this book is about Samantha, who is a high powered lawyer, and she is about to make partner for her firm when she finds out that a piece of paper that she should have handled, supposedly, we learn later that it's a little more complicated than that, didn't get handled, and now she has just lost one of their clients billions of dollars. She basically has a complete mental breakdown, gets on a train, and just goes. At one point, she stops at a house to ask for, I don't remember if it's directions or what, but these people in the house are like, "Hey, are you here to interview for the job of domestic servant?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, I am." She doesn't know anything about being a domestic servant. She has a house that she pays people to clean. She's never cooked in her life. But she does this interview and gets hired as their domestic servant. And, she's been told as she was getting there that she's likely to be fired from her job. So initially she just thinks she's going to stay for overnight, a place to stay, and then tell them in the morning that she's really not a domestic servant, doesn't want to work for them, and go back to the law firm. But then once she realizes that she doesn't have a job anymore, she's like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing this." So she has to kind of learn to be a domestic servant. And there is a guy there who is a gardener, and his mom is super domestic. And so, she learns from his mom. After making all these mistakes, which she kind of fixes with money, like, she's like, "Oh, I don't know how to make a sandwich, so I'm going to cater uh, all this big old sandwichy meal into the house." So she's actually losing money working for these people initially. But then, she's hanging out with the gardener, hanging out with his mom, and that's very sweet and heartwarming, and deciding that, it's nice to not have the crazy high powered lawyer world. And then some different stuff happens, and she finds out that she was set up. She didn't really make a mistake, but somebody was doing some illegal crap, and that's how the paperwork got on her desk that she didn't do. But she couldn't have done it because, that's not how they intended it. It was part of their embezzlement scheme or whatever. And so she has to go back to London and to this law firm and to get it sorted. And then they basically are like, "Okay, now you can be a partner again. And we're going to make you like the highest level partner." I don't know much about law, but the highest level partner. And this is going to be great. And initially she's like, "No, I am enjoying my life, my simple, slow life in the country." And then, she gets all this bad publicity and stuff for the law firm, and they kind of push her into being a partner again. And so she jumps on this train and is like, "Yeah, I can do this." And then realizes that she doesn't want to do it. So, uh, this book, I think I loved the relationships. I loved the commentary on, kind of the value in relationships with other people, taking life slow, friendships. All of that is so good. The romance was so good. It was fun watching her make mistakes as somebody who doesn't really know how to, who doesn't have those kind of domestic skills. She's very educated, obviously, she's a lawyer, but she doesn't have any domestic skills. So she can't run a washing machine, but, she can fix a contract. I liked the humor in that. I liked watching her stumble and learn. I liked the stuff with her and the gardener. I think his name's Nathaniel, but I don't quote me. And just seeing her develop as a person who values herself and her situation and like rest and leisure and balance. I enjoyed all that. I did think it was kind of heavy-handed at times with the message of, you know, being a career woman is not good, and being somebody who's super focused on work all the time is not good. It's like, this lady, she's rich, and now she's going to go work as a domestic, and like, is she just going to do that forever? Like, I don't know what you want from her. She's making big money, and like, she's not going to make that cleaning toilets. And like, yeah, she likes her simple job, but her employers are kind of weird too, just saying. Like, they're nice enough, but they're weird. And I would have liked to know more about like what their deal was, because they don't seem to get along real well, because they're kind of always like bickering back and forth. And she kind of interferes, Samantha does, and is like, oh, your problem is that you're not doing anything. And maybe if you would do a fundraiser or something to keep you occupied, that would solve the problem of, because we kind of get the impression that the woman, I think her name's Trish, who is the person that she works for, her and her husband had started a business, sold the business, they're rich, the husband's still working, and now Trish is like a trophy wife and is having trouble adjusting to that trophy wife status. So I thought that was an interesting take on things, but it did feel really heavy-handed at times. There's a lot of logic issues. Um, and some of it you can really be just like, this is a comedy, so even though this doesn't make sense, we'll just say it makes sense, it's fine. But there were times where I felt like too much, like, oh, we're way past unbelievability now, like way past unbelievability, like, you know in 2 weeks this girl is like Gordon Ramsay with her cooking, whereas before she literally uh, couldn't couldn't like couldn't bake to the level that I can bake. And I'm not a real good cook. She can make toast. That's the only thing she can make. At the beginning is toast, and then all of a sudden down the line she's a gourmet cook with a couple weekend lessons from Nathan's mom. The ending, though, I really found unsatisfying. I thought there was a lot of issues with, firstly, when she's taken the job, or before she's taken the job, there is like this whole argument of, you're setting women back. You're telling women that they shouldn't work and that you'd rather clean toilets than work at your law firm, and that's bad for women. Then she does take the job, and it's like, now you're saying that women, aren't who are housewives or domestics don't have value. And I think that's actually a really interesting discussion, and I like that we saw both sides of that, but also like, that's such a complicated thing, is like, what is the value? Because here's the thing, like, as a lawyer, she's making huge money. As a domestic, she's not. And that's never mentioned. We never have anybody sit down and go, what you're being paid to do laundry isn't going to pay all your bills. And you're going to have to move, because like, this whole book takes place in like a month. So she like goes to London when she's trying to solve like what happened, and she still has an apartment there. Like, they haven't kicked her out. Maybe it was a little more than a month, but it's not super long, because like, she still has her apartment. Now the cleaners aren't coming anymore because she hasn't been paying her cleaning bills, but like, it was just a lot of leaps in logic there that I just couldn't follow. I was like, really? Are you sure? I don't know that that's really the case. Why do you still have this house and you still have electricity, but the cleaners aren't coming because you haven't paid them? And also, like, if you're really planning on staying where you were, you should probably move all your stuff. Like, it was kind of illogical. But anyway, at the end, you have that argument, and then she gets on the train. She sees people like doing their emails and their Blackberries and being busy, and is like, this is really not for me. She gets off the train, and Nathaniel has been like, they're at the same train station. They see each other because he was chasing her and she was chasing him. And then it just ends. They like meet up and they're like, yes, I didn't leave. And I was going to follow you. And he's all like, I was going to follow you. And it's a very cute romancy ending, but then there was no epilogue. What did these people do? Is she going back to work for as a domestic and he's working as a gardener and they're not using her law degree? He was thinking about opening a gardening store. Do they do that? Who knows? There's no ending. There's no nice solid this is what they're doing. Could she open a law practice? I don't know. They don't ever suggest that. But like it just doesn't feel very balanced. And it feels like there's a whole lot of busy, hard work life bad and simple, casual, relaxed life good. But then also like, is your life as a domestic really that laid back? Like she gets weekends off. And in the law firm, she didn't. So yay. And her employers are great. And that's super. But I don't know, guys. This book just, there were a lot of things that I didn't think made a lot of sense to me. And like I said, I had very similar feelings about the My Not So Perfect Life, which is kind of a similar situation of girl is trying to go after this one dream and then goes to a much more calm country little town setting and is like, oh, this is for me after all. And I don't I don't know how I feel about that messaging. I don't know that this was a super well done version of that messaging. I do think that this could be a fun, entertaining read, but I'm not sure that the message that it's trying to get across is a good message. Like, I do think work-life balance is important. Let's be clear there. But we need lawyers in the world. And and we also like not everybody should throw away their college education to go and sort laundry for rich people. Like, yeah, I'm not sure what this book was really trying to say, but I don't think it said it well. I do think it was entertaining and I loved the romance. I thought that was great, but just some of the other stuff just didn't hit quite right. And so that's why it ended up not being a 5 star. So, have you guys read this book or other Sophie Kinsella's? And what did you think? Did you agree with me? Are a lot of her other books like this? Because I've read a couple, and the only one that really seemed to have this messaging was My Not So Perfect Life. I do remember, I think I read 20 something, which I really liked. I think that's my favorite Sophie Kinsella. I read Shopaholic. I want to say I've read a couple other ones, but I don't know. So, what are your favorite Sophie Kinsellas? Particularly ones that are not so hard or heavy handed in their messaging about simplicity and the simple life. What other books have this vibe but are maybe a little bit better done, that are more reflective of, oh, I'm living at a really fast pace. I want to slow down, but in maybe a more healthy type way of maybe like, let's open our own practice in a small town versus I'm going to go do laundry and clean toilets and, not worry about the fact that that's such a big salary difference. And like, here's the thing. I recently changed jobs because of kind of a similar high demand, high stress position versus a much lower demand, lower stress position. So I see the value in that, but also like the pay was pretty similar at the end of the day. Like I didn't lose money doing it. And I can't imagine going from like a high powered lawyer's salary to like a McDonald's worker's salary. I'm not sure that would ever be worth it if you could continue to use your law degree. Maybe don't use it that way. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings. Tell me what you thought of this book. Tell me other books that have similar messaging but do it better. All right, guys, this has been Jane. Talk to you later. Bye.